Measure and record the overall length and width dimensions of your ceiling. Calculate the spacing of your beams based on the width and quantity being installed. Then measure out and make marks to indicate where the far side of each beam will be located in both the length and width of the ceiling. Next, measuring back in the opposite direction, make additional marks at a distance from the previous marks that are equal to the width of the beams being installed. Then, measuring inward between each pair of marks, make additional marks at a distance that is equal to the thickness of the sidewalls of your beams. Using a chalk line, snap single lines to connect the inner pairs of marks across the ceiling. These represent the locations for the fastening cleats. On each of the fastening cleats, make a mark at 2 inches in from one end and then at every 16 inches from that mark. Then make a mark at 2 inches in from the opposite end. Next, pre-drill holes centered in the width of the fastening cleats at each of the marks. Then, hold the outside edge of the fastening cleat along the chalk line on the ceiling and re-drill through each of the holes to puncture the drywall for the locations of the anchors that it will be secured to. Using a screwdriver, install a single drywall anchor into each of the holes and tighten by hand until flush with the ceiling. Next, apply a continuous bead of adhesive to the back side of the fastening cleat. Reposition the cleat along the same chalk line on the ceiling, while also aligning the pre-drilled holes with the drywall anchors and secure it with screws. Repeat this process for installing all of the remaining full-length fastening cleats. Then measure the remaining sections and cut additional lengths of fastening cleats to fit as needed. Apply adhesive to the backside of each additional length of cleat and secure them to the ceiling with screws into the drywall anchors. Space the cleats 1.5 inches from each other, where they meet perpendicular at a 90-degree angle. Measure the overall span of the ceiling, and then measure and mark your beam at the same dimension with a square and pencil. Cut the beam to length with a medium to fine-tooth saw at the marks and flip over to apply a bead of adhesive to both top edges. Apply a bead of adhesive to the outside edges of the fastening cleats. Then position the beam over the cleats and fasten it to them with finish nails and/or screws driven through the sides. Repeat this process for installing the remaining full-length beams. Measure the distance between the wall and the first beam, and then measure, mark, and cut your beam to length accordingly. Flip the cut section of beam and apply a bead of adhesive to the top edges. Repeat this process and secure all the remaining beam sections to complete your ceiling beam treatment.